Okay, there's been a lot of questions about how to use the strategic planning aid that was developed for the New York TRACON. Just want to take a look at that, and we'll scroll through this. So up top comes a shortened, generalized forecast discussion, followed by the 5-day outlook. Then it's followed by a generic looking at the terminals, and you can click on any terminal. So we're going to click down to Newark now. And at Newark, it gives the terminal weather. It starts off with 5-minute METAR observations, which are in true. So the wind there is 300 degrees at 5. That can also be converted to magnetic, and the ASOS converts it to magnetic. So it's 320 at 5, magnetic, added 20 degrees due to rounding. Here you can see it only added 10 degrees, went from 300 to 310. These are the ITWIS, the wind measuring equipment. That's about a mile north of the ASOS. And you can see the variations taking place there in the wind. Here's the latest METAR and, of course, the TAF. The TAF gets decoded, and this decoding is done by a program that's out at the Aviation Weather Center, color-coded for the obvious reasons here due to flight category. Winds when they get to 10 knots turn yellow, when they get to 25 knots turn red. And you see here the observation, the latest observation. 310 at 9. I guess that's probably the 14Z observation, because this was updated at 1441. It'll be updated every 5 minutes. The page will refresh. But I just wanted to go down to what's down here, which is the most important thing for there's a refresh. Go down to here. The most important thing that takes place down here is the calculations of crosswinds and tailwinds. So if we read this, the runways at Newark are 04 and 22. In fact, that's the orientation. So what the decoding does is to recommend a runway based on the wind, and only based on the wind. And so based on the current observation and the current forecast wind direction, the indication is that the runway 04, the 4s, should be used throughout the day. We see the calculation of crosswind. It's a direct crosswind of 9 knots. So 9, forecast is 8, going to 11 and staying at 11. But it also calculates the tailwind if the other runway is used. In other words, on runway 22, there's a 2-knot tailwind. Right now, we increased to 3 knots. But again, this is pretty much a direct crosswind, so there's just a slight amount of tailwind. So any variation in the wind direction would result in these changing back and forth. More importantly is the use of runway 11. Today with northwest wind, it's an obvious tailwind for that runway, so it's recommending to use runway 29, which most times cannot be used unless there's extremely strong winds. But based on the current observation, there's 5 knots of crosswind and 7 knots of tailwind for runway 11. So if they were landing with the tailwind, they'd have 7 knots based on the current observation taken at 14Z. And we can see as we get out here, it's 9 knots coming up of tailwind. So this is all based on the sustained wind. It's not based on the gusts. So all the crosswinds and tailwind calculations are based on the gusts. And again, the tailwinds are indicated if the other runway is being used. So if you're on using runway 29, you have 7 knots of headwind, and you would have 7 knots of tailwind if you're on runway 11. Okay, and hopefully that explains it. Here's the haze forecast for the slant range visibility at Newark. And we'll scroll down further. The swap statement will go in here when that starts to be issued here in a few days. We'll change this over from compression and icing to compression and turbulence. We'll put the CWSU will issue the thunderstorm forecast, and these are the upper level winds which update every hour. The red line here indicates the freezing level. So that's it.